to episode 6 of Me Dark Presents Scary Movie Madness.
Woo! It's just, Halloween's over, but we're still rolling. It's Halloween every day over here.
Yeah, we watch horror movies all year round.
Why not?
Yeah, true. Why not?
I love how you had to pause and be like, yeah, you're right. Why not?
What it is, dude is distracting me because he's just running around. It's playtime because he just ate dinner.
Yeah, so then he gets this
like,
burst of energy.
Yeah, we're recording a little bit earlier than normal, so he didn't get his playtime in.
We're old. It's hard enough to get this podcast every week, but, we're really trying to make it happen for y'all.
Well, let's just start by, let's highlight the contest again.
So one of our more recent posts will have all the details, including the terms and conditions. It is open to everyone in North America. It will be live all the way through November 30th, and we will announce the winner on the podcast for that week. To enter, all you have to do is make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube and that you follow us on Instagram. We are doing one entry for each of those. And then every time you comment in the month of November, we will be including that as an additional entry and then a bonus entry. I just wanted to really drive it home, right? So why not? 5 entries if you post a review on Apple Podcasts. Just make sure to message us so that we know it was your review and we can tie it back to you. You can message us on Instagram or you can email us at medarkpresents@gmail.com.
Look at you. You thought of everything.
I did. I really covered all the bases. Fun fact, I'm operations in real life and that's what we do.
Yeah.
We make sure all the bases are covered.
Right. Well, yeah, the contest was your idea. You love prizes and games.
I do.
So
and I didn't have a Halloween party to do them with.
So I should say that I've yet to receive this Jason statue. I have it ordered.
Which is why also we had to hold off on it as a 500 follower giveaway. That's what it's posted as. We've obviously ramped up a lot since then. We're actually at 800 followers now.
We're well past.
So, at this point, we might do another at 1,000, might do another at 1,500.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
With these collectible stuff, sometimes it takes a little while, from when you order it for it to actually get to you. Because, again, they only make so many. And a lot of times they go just based on how many orders they get. So they wait to get all the 500 orders in before they actually start processing and manufacturing these things. I think in this case, it's supposed to ship out either this month or next month. So
yep, we'll just keep whoever the winner is, we'll announce it. And I promise you, I'm really good at follow up. I will keep you updated as we know more about when it will arrive.
All right. So we watched 2 more movies.
We did.
Much to my chagrin, one of them was Wes Craven again.
Oh, God. He was so upset.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, I've seen this movie before. I guess I just never pieced it together that it was Wes Craven that did it.
It makes sense, though, because one of the things that we recognize about Wes Craven is that he has really good ideas, unique
I won't
ideas.
Take that away from him, sure.
Yeah. They're just poorly executed once again.
Well, you're jumping the gun.
I'm sorry.
So what we're talking about is The People Under the Stairs from 1991. So a large jump in time from the 70s movies that we covered last time. I have to say I was upset when the little directed by Wes Craven thing popped up on the screen.
You went, again?
Yeah. Well, I didn't say it loud. It was under my breath, oh my God, it's Wes Craven again.
Oh, yes. Actually, it's a fun fact. If you catch the Instagram story where I was posting it,
you could probably hear me
say it in the background and it's amazing. You're right. You didn't yell it.
No, I didn't yell it.
What's that thing?
I kept my composure. Let's keep our composure.
No, what's that thing called when you think you remember something and it was wrong?
The Mandela effect?
The Mandela effect. I remembered it differently than it actually was. Yeah.
That's fun fact. Recently, my mind was blown by a Mandela effect. That movie, what was it? Remember the Scary Movie series that they did?
Yeah, making fun of Scream.
I don't know if it was in the late 90s or early 2000s or whatever. Well, it started out as Scream, and then they blended in I Know What You Did Last Summer.
They started getting other ones in.
Yeah. But there's the one, it's always the Wayans brothers.
Yeah.
And there's the one with the guy, the Take My Strong Hand guy.
The Strong Hand.
Yeah. apparently he doesn't say "take my strong hand."
Nope, we've just all made it that.
There's memes about this. Like everybody remembers it. At the guy's hanging out the window. I think it's David Cross.
Yeah.
The guy, he was like in a wheelchair or whatever.
So great.
And he's hanging out the window, and the guy, what is it? I forget that actor's name. He was hilarious, like Elliot something or whatever. The guy, the take my strong hand guy. But yeah, he comes out and he's like trying to he's hanging on for dear life.
Chris Elliott?
Chris Elliott.
Chrissy Elliott.
That's
Boom.
what it is. Nice. We tag teamed.
I know we did. Good. Okay, keep going.
Everybody remembers it as Chris Elliott's character is like, because he has like this deformed little hand that he extends it out and says, "Take my strong hand." But David Cross, like his character,
He's like,
he
no,
won't.
give me your other hand.
He won't grab it, and he just ends up
hand.
dying. He's like, "I'd rather die than touch this guy's mutated hand." But apparently, he doesn't say that. What happens is he goes, "Give me the other hand." And he goes, "No, it's not strong enough. You got to take the little one."
It's the little. It's
That's
not even
what
close.
he says. It's not even close.
Well, the one thing I do remember from that movie that is undisputable is when they're all putting their fingers in and they go, "My germs," and he goes,
God.
"My germs," and he shoves his whole hand in.
It would be fun to do
Horrifying.
the Scary Movies series.
I mean, why not? We can throw that in.
Is that what it's called? Just Scary Movie?
Yeah, it's Scary Movie like 1 through 19.
There's
I
a
don't
million
know.
of them, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so People Under the Stairs, written and directed by Wes Craven, which is never a good sign in my opinion. But here we go. So you have this little kid, Fool. He's 13 years old. He just turned 13.
Weird name for a character.
I don't think is Fool his real name or that's like a nickname.
Maybe it's a nickname, but still, it's such a weird name to put in a character.
Wes
in
Craven it has some interesting character name choices. He's played by Brandon Adams, who he was around a little bit in the 90s. He had a recurring role in the Mighty Ducks franchises. And he also plays De Nunez, the pitcher in Sandlot. Sandlot,
care.
one of my favorite movies. You don't care?
I don't care about
The
either of
scene
those
with
movies.
Ham, where he calls a shot and he's like, "You want the heater? I'll give it to you." And Ham like knocks it out of the park, and they're like, he's like, "That's how you do it, Smalls. That's what that's from." That
I know.
All right.
They're just not movies that like they resonate with. Those movies resonate with you as a child. I didn't care.
I must have watched Sandlot 500 times as a kid.
Yeah,
it was.
Whereas
always on.
I was watching Lady and the Tramp.
All right, so the basic premise is Fool's mom is sick with cancer, right? She's dying. He's thrust into this spot where he's got to
take care of his family.
He's got to take care of his family. He's 13 years old. Like they don't have any money. They're about to get evicted from their apartment.
They're shitty landlords.
Right, they're shitty landlords, which is the whole point, really, the whole premise of this movie. So right away, I mean, this is a good setup. Like you feel for a kid in this position, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I mean, I think it's very interesting from a kid's point of view of like someone that he obviously looks up to, right? Someone that he trusts. And he's like, "Let me let you in on a secret." And this kid just desperately wants to do what he can for his mother. And so he is literally willing to do anything. And thus we have a film.
Yeah, well, I don't even know if he's really willing so much as like he just doesn't have any other choices.
He's willing though. He was like, I think at some point in the film he says like, "I just want to help," or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress.
So he hooks up with Leroy and Spencer. Leroy played by Ving Rhames. Marcellus Wallace. I love Ving Rhames.
So
Ving
good.
Rhames, he had a nice little run there for a while where, I mean, he's always sort of been like a character actor, like not really a leading man, but I mean, everything he's in, he's just so enjoyable. He's just an entertaining guy.
Yeah.
And you know what? It doesn't fall flat here either. I really like his character here. His performance is okay. You know, it's a little goofy, cheesy, but I think that is more because of Wes Craven and less because of him.
I know. Yeah.
So I don't remember, but there's something about he gets a tip about like a rare coin collection in the landlord's house, right?
So basically it's that he finds out who the landlord is. Then he tracks that landlord down and he finds, I believe it's like papers in the trash that lead to him reading about a customer who wanted to buy the landlord's gold coins. And the landlord threw this away and he's like, "Look, here's this plan." It's basically like a treasure map to him at this point.
Right.
And he knows it's in this rickety ass old house that looks like it's a piece of shit. And he thinks it's going to be so easy to just run up in there with a really good plan to break in, or not even break in.
No, the initial plan is let's dress up Fool like he's selling cookies or something.
Boy Scout.
And he has to pee. He's like, I have to pee.
No, it was a Boy Scout that he's selling something, and then when that didn't work, it was, well, then tell him you need to use the bathroom to get him inside. So it's not necessarily like a break-in, but to make their way in.
Could you imagine if a 13-year-old kid knocked on our door and was like trying to sell us something, and then he's like, "Can I use your bathroom?" Like, there's no shot this would ever work. Like, I'm not letting that kid in my house. And we're not even doing any shady shit in here like these people are.
No.
I mean, how do they expect that would work? I don't know.
Again, different times, right? Look at the last house on the left. They let those people come stay in their house.
Yeah, it's true. Well, that was the 70s. This is the 90s. It's a little different, but yeah.
It's still weird as shit. We had that one kid once that we caught on the Ring trying to open our door.
Yeah, that was weird.
So weird. But anyway, so that's how he figures out the gold coins. And, he basically convinces Fool that, all you need is one of these coins and you're set for life.
Yeah.
And so now Fool's like, I got to do this.
Yeah, so they try with the lame Boy Scout, I got to go to the bathroom excuse. And then it gets followed up by the most cliche thing ever from Spencer, which is, I'll just dress up as the gas man and say there's like a gas leak.
I don't know if that's cliche. I actually looked at that. I was like, oh, it's pretty smart. He had a whole outfit. He had a clipboard and shit.
I mean, how many times have we seen this in a movie with like
a serviceman,
with burglars who are like, yeah, I'll just dress up as a service guy. It's like the most cliche writing tactic.
Mm-hmm.
He gets in because of this, but it's really not because he fools the woman at all. She sees right through it, and they kill this guy. You don't see it, but you just know. As soon as she lets him in, you're like, that guy's dead.
Yeah, later on you find out that they're very used to these types of break-ins, if you will, or these types of infiltrations to their home, and thus why it's called The People Under the Stairs, too.
So I will say at this point in the movie, I don't think we meet the guy yet, the husband, but she is.
It's not a husband, babe.
What is it?
It's her brother.
Oh, Jesus.
You forgot once we get to it,
Well, whatever. The man. They're referred to as woman and man, I think, on IMDb when I looked it up. That's their character names. Yeah. They don't have names. So the woman she's freaking creepy, man. She's scary. You immediately get that vibe too, like that this is not a woman that you really want to mess with. So when Spencer doesn't come out, Leroy and Fool are like, all right, well, we got to do something. And Leroy sort of reverts to what he knows, which is, I'll just brute force break into this house. Who's going to stop me? And they break into the house, and he gets attacked by the family dog, which this dog
call it the family dog?
Well, whatever. Their dog. This dog fucking hates him.
That dog hates everybody that isn't its owner.
Yeah. What kind of dog is it?
It's like a Rottweiler.
A Rottweiler. Didn't you have a Rottweiler?
I did. And the Rottweiler that I had was amazing. She loved everyone. She would let you in the house, but she sure as fuck wasn't letting you leave. And that's pretty much this.
Yeah, no, this dog does not want him to leave. And the house itself doesn't want anybody to leave. It's like an impenetrable fortress. Like once you get in this house,
they can lock you in.
Yeah.
You're trapped.
Like everything is like on a switch, basically, where they could just lock every door on a whim. Some of the doors are like rigged with like electricity. We'll get to that in a second. It's really cool. There's like these weird little booby traps and little compartments and stuff everywhere. Again, just good ideas from Wes Craven, and some of the execution is really cool. But ultimately what happens is he gets attacked by this dog, and there's this moment where like the dog is attacking him on the floor, and Fool yells, "Your mother sleeps with cats." And this is enough.
The dog's like, "Oh, all right, I'm out then."
For the dog to be like, "Oh, you know what, you motherfucker! Like, I'm not gonna. Now you're gonna get it because
your mom sleeps with cats."
So stupid. Like, this is where Wes Craven loses me with his weird shifts and tones.
There were so many ways that you could have gotten the dog's attention. So many ways. You could have seen...
throw something at it.
Yeah, you could have seen, like, meat in the corner and been like...
Right.
And, like, threw it or something. And,
but he says your mother sleeps with cats.
And he says it with vengeance.
And then the dog turns, and it's the fakest dog head.
And this is where Mark dies.
I caught it right away. You didn't catch it right away. I rewound it. I tried to pause it.
It was so quick.
It was quick.
So quick. Yeah. Like, I get why they did it, right? I mean, I guess I kind of get why they did it. Maybe they didn't have the dog and they needed to reshoot the scene. Maybe they didn't want the kid to feel in danger. Maybe he was scared of the dog. Maybe there was a million reasons why they needed to do it that way. I don't know. But it was bad. At least it was quick. That was what I'm saying.
At least it was quick. Yeah, it is a quick shot. And I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I was saying how much I love Sandlot. There's some pretty bad fake dog stuff in that movie too.
Judgy McJudgerson?
Yeah. Well, nonetheless, the dog chases them into the main house, and like I mentioned before, the doorknob to the front door is like electrified somehow. There's some sort of electrical current running through it.
Yeah.
You remember
They
this?
booby trapped the whole entire house, and they think that they can get out, and then they realize real quick, like,
They can't.
nope, ain't gonna happen that way.
Yeah. They can't break any of the windows. Like they try to break the windows. So the dog gets a hold of them again. And what they do is Fool grabs the front doorknob and they all like get electrocuted like this really hilarious thing where they're all moving like they're getting electrocuted. And I guess the current's running through all of them and zaps the dog.
It's kind of a genius idea. Like the kid learned from like, hey, this was a shitty situation and now I'm going to use it to my benefit. It was kind of a genius like bait and switch, but it also happens too close together.
I mean, do you think the science behind this is sound? Do you care?
I mean, I think it could be. I don't know. I mean, I feel like
Didn't bother you.
An electric shock, can it really transfer from one person to another? I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
I just thought the whole visual of like the three of them on screen,
yeah,
like
it looks like shit. They look just like
is
they're
kind of goofy,
doing some stupid dance and like, and then they added some shitty effects on top of it. But I mean, whatever. It's a fantasy film anyway. Who can, whose house is like that in a real case and has trap doors and shit? And then you get into the real creep shit now and really wonder. You can't really call the doorknob thing the worst part.
No, but it just kind of struck me as odd. Again, this is just like some of the goofy choices that Wes Craven makes.
Yeah.
So they run upstairs. I think Leroy hides in a closet. He's like, there's no room. And then Roach comes out, one of the people under the stairs, the one with the cut off tongue. Cool character. Yeah.
It's a cool that's a cool concept, right? Yeah. Like now you get into the religious themes about why these people are the way that they are. Right. And
that comes a little later. So now at this point in the movie, it's sort of like it's the audience's first peep at any of like the under the stairs or in the walls people.
Yep.
And when Roach kind of pops out, it's like that jump scare moment. It scares Leroy. And you as an audience member, you don't really know how to take it either. Like you're sort of like, holy crap, there's like mutant guys in the walls or whatever. You don't really get a good look at them.
You don't know why they're there. You don't know.
Yeah.
How they got there, who they were.
Yeah, nice little layer there. And so when he spooks Leroy, he comes out into the hallway, he gets shot. He falls down the stairs, right? He falls all the way down the stairs after being shot. Yeah. And the two of them dance, they slow dance over his body. Creepy.
And again, this is the weird thing because at this point, the entire time you are thinking this is a married couple.
Yeah, I was. And I kind of forgot that. But they say that it's the brother?
There's a point in this. Remember. What?
I don't remember.
There's a point where they start telling I don't remember exactly where it is. One of the characters starts telling the story about like how they're not the only ones to try this shit, and basically that that crazy brother and sister, and you're like, what? And that's your moment of like, this is some
it's fucked
up. Like it's every bad theme. Right? It is a incestuous, sadomasochistic.
Wow.
It is. Yeah. Incestuous, sadomasochistic, religious extremist, child abuse scenario. Like everything in one. They couldn't pick one. They went with all of it.
I mean, Wes Craven does this a lot, right? He finds like these really he finds these pockets of things that are really scary and terrifying and uneasy to the viewer. And then he sprinkles in like these moments of like goofiness.
Yeah, it doesn't make like this should have been dark as shit.
Yeah. Well, because there are like moments like that. It's like, wow, I'm sort of like thrust into like a horror film suddenly. But then you have like the dog and the electrocution thing, and then it takes you out of it. He sort of pulls you like in and out. It's these uneven tones of like,
should I be scared or should I be laughing?
Yeah, like Last House on the Left. Like 1 minute you have me watching like these girls getting tortured and sexually abused in the woods, and the next moment you have like these cops
doing a slapstick skit.
Doing a slapstick routine. I mean, he just follows this through in all of his filmmaking.
He's like, all right, it got too scary for a minute. Let me make you laugh a bit. No, I want to be terrified. I want to be sitting there, like biting my fingernails, being like, what the fuck is going to happen? And instead I'm going, what? And it's a different kind of WTF.
Right. So the way Fool gets out is he sort of discovers that compartment in the wall, right? And he goes into the wall. He ends up in the basement. This is the first time we're under the stairs. And then he also has an encounter with Roach. But what we both liked about this scene was when he gets spooked and he like runs up the stairs and the stairs
turn to a ramp.
Yeah, they flatten down into a ramp. And we were like, oh, that's cool.
Right. That was those are the really terrifying elements, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
you're like, shit, I gotta run up, and then all of a sudden you're fucked because you're like, okay, I guess not. They thought of that.
Yeah.
They thought of how to keep my ass in the basement. Great. Plan B.
Yeah, that you at this moment, like you're like, yeah, this house is just rigged to keep people in and just kill them and torture them. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I would say that this is probably the scariest and the best villains that Wes Craven has ever had in a horror movie.
Because they're human and everything that they're doing is.
I mean, as much as I love
doable.
Scream and I like the Ghostface character and all that stuff, you know, the reveal of the Ghostface character being, you know,
High school kids.
The high school kids, they're not anywhere near as scary of people as these two people are. These people are, I mean,
These people aren't hiding enough that
they're just
terrifying.
sickos. Like they're just in
But
every aspect.
In Scream, it also is, right? Like that they're kids hanging out with these people that they call their friends and are picking them off one by one.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. I love Scream and I love the Ghostface costume. I love those characters. I'm more scared of these two.
That's fair.
I mean, the dad with the freaking BDSM costume,
Again, there
with
you
the
go.
leather BDSM costume. And he's just firing shotguns into his walls everywhere, just trying to kill these kids.
It's all the layers, man. It's creepy as hell. Oh, and then you get the cannibal, right? Because you get the point where they're down in the basement and you see them literally carving
So
bodies.
that's my favorite scene in this movie. So the scene plays out where, you know, the two of them discover that their daughter is helping Fool as well as Roach, and the man takes Fool down into the basement.
Yep.
But the woman takes the daughter. She takes her downstairs to clean Leroy's blood off the floor. First of all.
Yep.
And it's this great scene, like the actress just absolutely nails it, where she just loses her temper completely on this young girl as she's scrubbing the blood.
That she made her do in her white dress.
Yeah, she makes her do it in this pristine white
Throws
dress
her.
that she made for her. She throws her into the puddle of blood and she's like, you're going to clean it. And she goes on this rant that's just terrifying. Like you get like this really genuine, authentic moment of like darkness and terror.
And it's almost like she almost believes her madness. That's the thing that's most terrifying is like, it's not like this is a game to her. She is so erratically insane
Yes.
that she thinks it really is this girl's job to clean up, that she really does do so much and she's underappreciated and da-da-da, and she works so hard on this dress.
Yeah.
And now after you've thrown her into the blood, you are now mad that she has made a mess of herself, cleaning up the mess you made her make. And now she has to be punished for that, even though it had nothing to do with her own decision.
Oh yeah, it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you
yeah.
don't. There's no winning with this woman. There's no winning in this house. This whole thing is just completely torturous, which at that point, I sort of would have wished that Wes Craven would have taken this a little further and shown more of a damaged young girl. She doesn't really seem all that damaged for somebody that lives in this house with these people who never goes outside. Like one of her hobbies is she like knits little like stuffed animals out of all the people that have come into the house and never left.
Mm-hmm.
This is what she does during the day. So it's like, I would have expected that this girl be a little bit more broken. Like he could have really pushed the envelope there, and maybe I would have had even like more sympathy and care. Not that you don't care for her. I mean, obviously she's in a horrible situation, but he really could have like turned that up to 11 and really made it like a really damaged, broken young girl. She's not really that.
Yeah, he never really pushes the envelope of the terror.
No.
That's the thing, is like he gives it enough to be like, ooh, this is uncomfortable and this is not great.
Well, yeah, speaking of uncomfortable, the bath.
Oh my God. This is the scene that when I was like, oh, we put this one on the list, I said to you, right? I was like, the one scene that I always will remember, aside from the one that you mentioned with the cannibalist moment, was the bathtub. And the idea of like being thrown into that and there being nothing that you can do and your entire skin is just on fire and boiling water. Like that is incredibly horrifying.
It is.
And like seeing it, it's not even that water was hot. You saw the steam coming off that bathtub.
Yeah, billowing steam. The only thing that took me out of it a little was the mom puts her hands in the water too and is like scrubbing her. And she's definitely like getting the water all over her. And it just doesn't affect her at all.
I think it is tough, but it's believable in a sense of like that temperature water on your entire body. You got to think about
way worse. Sure.
Certain parts of your body are a little tougher than others, right? And you have certain areas of skin that feel pain a lot quicker than others. And
there's I think there's like a Mythbusters on this. So there was some sort of experiment
Men and women.
they did. Yeah.
Hot and cold.
Yes. It had something to do with like extreme temperatures, and it was specifically the hands. So they would have like a man put his hand in really cold water and a woman put her hand in really cold water and vice versa. And every single time the women would last longer.
Booyah!
It was an interesting little scientific experiment.
It's called the Italian mom hands
Italian
experiment.
mom hands. Yeah, just washing dishes constantly with scalding hot water. That's passed down from generations.
There's this video I saw recently, like making fun of that, like and how moms are like that. And it's like this guy's like how I cook and fry things in oil, and he's got like a shield of a lid and he's throwing things into the pan.
That.
And then it's like how my mom does it, and he's got like the phone like this, and he's like
touching the oil, he's licking it.
Touching it, licking it, like smushing it around. I was screaming. Like that was my grandma.
It was very
all day
funny.
long.
Yeah.
That's what this feels like though. So that's why I was like,
so then maybe that's your explanation, right?
It is my explanation. It's just her hands. She has sleeves, right, or whatever. And so the water's touching, but she's also so erratically in and out of it that it's not enough.
Right.
As like being your whole fucking body submerged in a boiling pot like a lobster.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here.
So they juxtapose this. I love this.
Yes.
This is the best part of the movie. They
So
juxtapose this with the man downstairs who has Leroy hanging up on like a meat hook upside down. And he's got Fool like in the corner, like all tied up watching him. He's just chopping like slabs of meat off of Leroy and just eating them. And then he's throwing the scraps to the people under the stairs. And I'm thinking like this poor kid, like he's traumatized like for the rest.
Could
you imagine? Like I can't even put myself in that mindset as a 13-year-old boy.
I would never trust another fucking house ever again. Like I would look at every house and be like, what the hell is going on in those walls?
This guy's scary too, man. And I think he has the BDSM costume, the leather costume.
Huge.
He's huge. And he's got blood like dripping all over his mouth. It's awesome.
Savage.
Yeah.
Savage as hell.
The cops come at some point and they're like flip a bunch of switches or whatever in the house and like it like adjusts the lighting to look
pretty.
like, yeah. And she's like baking cookies and making coffee for them. So just so it appears like everything's on the up and up, nothing to worry about.
This neighborhood, they rely so heavily on like being
in a bad neighborhood.
Being a happy white couple in a urban rundown neighborhood that just has crime on the rise. Yeah. And they're just protecting themselves.
She does flip into that like
Karen
Susie
all day.
Homemaker thing pretty nicely.
Yeah.
And I like the touch with like, okay, we got to disable all of our like booby traps and stuff with these switches. So there's no.
And it's actually, again, genius
suspicious.
that they have this setup, right? Like that there's this front of like, this side is the stage for anyone who happens to make it inside. But on this other side is where we are the sadomasochistic, incestuous cannibals.
Right.
On the other
so
side.
the main issue I had with this, and I mentioned it when we were watching the movie, I'm like, well, first of all, we're like, how the hell big is this house? This guy's
enormous.
Been blowing shotgun holes into his wall all day. Like stabbing holes in the walls, like punching, like there's holes everywhere. And these cops don't see shit. Now, granted, this all happened upstairs, and I guess the cops never go upstairs or whatever. Their facade works enough where the cops don't go upstairs. But again, so unrealistic. Like, you have that many cops show up to a disturbance like this, and they're not going to investigate the whole house.
And like, how do the people under the stairs of all times stay silent then?
Right. There's no way to keep everybody quiet. There's no way you're stopping the cops from doing at least just a sight walkthrough of your house. Can I go upstairs and just walk through and see everything's all right, that you don't have anybody up there? Like, they would have seen this chaotic mess everywhere. It would have been a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
But, Wes Craven, sometimes I just feel like he's like, my audience is stupid.
Well, no.
They're not going to think about
He once again
these
also made dumb cops.
He made dumb cops.
Every time. Think about Scream. Dewey is dumb as shit.
I love Dewey.
I know, but he's dumb.
He's kind of dumb, but he also is kind of smart.
Remember the scene when like they call Sydney at Tatum's house
Yeah.
And
Hello.
It's clearly hung up. Yeah. And he's like, hello? Stupid. Like, he loves dumb cops in horror movies. All right, keep going.
Well, I mean, there's not much else that goes on. Like, the dog ends up getting killed. He ends up killing his own dog in the walls or whatever. And then you sort of get the Wes Craven thing where it's going to be the mom versus the daughter, and then it's going to be fool versus the man. So the mom goes apeshit with a kitchen knife and attacks the daughter. And again, typical Wes Craven nonsense. This house that was an impenetrable fortress the entire movie that you couldn't get out. The mom runs at the daughter who's standing in front of the front door. She runs at her with a kitchen knife. The daughter ducks. She stabs through the door.
That's a bad bitch, man.
Like cardboard. Like clearly just a set piece door, like meant to break. And I just like...
palm to the face.
What the like, no shot. You're stabbing a hole through your front door with a kitchen knife.
Can we test this? So when we take the bathroom door off upstairs, can we run at it with a kitchen knife and see what happens?
That's different. That's an interior hollow wood door. Oh, you would have a shot at that.
Tomato.
Right? This is like when here's Johnny and he breaks down. Think about how many slices it takes him with a fucking axe to get through an interior hollow wood door.
That's fair.
This is one shot, external front door, solid wood. Butcher knife right fucking through it.
Done.
Meanwhile, Leroy earlier in the film can't break a pane of glass with like heavy objects. Fuck you, Wes Craven. Fuck you.
The continuity is just poor. Like the things that make sense.
Ruins it because then the choreography is, well, she'll stab through the door and then you're going to end up on the stairs and then the mom's going to be hovering over you with the knife on the stairs. And then the people under the stairs just punch through it with their bare hands.
Every wall. Like they could have been doing this all the time and just really overrun.
Stairs, the wood solid stairs.
I know, but it's so weird.
These malnourished, like fucking
I don't even know that they're necessarily malnourished. They're just living off of human flesh, which means that they're like...
How healthy could they be? How strong could they be?
Isn't protein at the end of the day?
I don't know. I mean, you want to see if you can punch through a solid wood staircase?
I'm good. I like my knuckles where they are.
No blood or anything. He just punches through with ease.
I don't know. It's definitely insane because it's also funny to me how they're down there and it's that slotted like wall that they can kind of like slip their fingers through. He can throw the meat over. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so obvious that enough of them could break that shit in 2 seconds and he'd be dead. They would just eat him alive because now it's like a dog who's been given the taste of blood, right? Like once you taste it, you attack and like they would just rip him apart. So it's like silly. You would think he would have had them behind glass or like, what's that show that we watch? He has this whole airtight fucking glass thing with a food hole in it.
Like a thick plexiglass or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Right? Like you would think all the work they put into this house, you would contain.
I would buy that they would have something like a containment cell like that they would be able to put something like that
these
together.
Are ravenous, crazy creatures you've created
especially
now.
Like you're saying, with all the other booby traps and stuff that they've worked up. I can't buy that you have like a plexiglass, like impenetrable prison cell. I could buy that. Well, especially now at the end, like you've just undone all the stuff that you did to convince me that you can't escape from this house. All of that goes out the window. Like you've just thrown your movie out, which is annoying because like up until this point, I can sort of take the good with the bad with this movie. Like there's not enough bad. I'm still entertained and I like enough of the ideas and there's enough scary stuff where I'm like,
it's not terrible.
Not that bad of a movie. But the ending just completely unravels. There's the scene downstairs with Fool and the man, and somehow Fool is able to rig up like this intricate dynamite wiring, which I don't know how a 13-year-old does this at all. Like, where do you get the training for like this? Yeah, this really volatile dynamite substance you're able to like wire intricately.
Yeah.
And the dynamite is like sitting on the piles of the coins and the money. And he's maybe like, what would you say, 10, 15 feet away from the man?
Not even. I mean, like, he's right outside this. It's a safe.
The safe, yeah.
Full of, first of all, the most money ever possible. Like mounds of cash just strewn about. He's outside the safe.
He rigs up the dynamite or whatever, and he puts the two wires together. This triggers the explosion. It blows up the whole house. Like we get an exterior shot of just explosions everywhere.
Yeah.
But then Fool and the daughter and the people under the stairs, they just walk out of the house. No problem. We're fine. The only people that were hurt in this explosion are the two people that we need to die. So I can end my movie.
So
I just want to hit these certain beats. I don't give a fuck how we get there.
We just have to wrap it up. It's been too long. Just blow everything up and let them walk out.
And then, so now you have like money raining from the sky. There's this
in the poor neighborhood.
There's like this hip hop song that plays as all like a cheesy 90s hip hop music, like a feel good.
Wes Craven just tried to be hip to the times.
Oh my God. And it's one of the worst endings to a horror movie I've ever seen.
Is it worse than The Hills Have Eyes just ending on the end though?
You know what? I'm going to say yes, because I was more invested in this movie and I cared more about how it ended.
Yep.
And because it ended like this, it just pisses me off. It's just one of those things where it's like, I don't want to watch a Wes Craven movie ever again.
Yeah.
Because he's just going to like fuck around and toy with me. And then
I'm going to be disappointed.
Then I'm going to be disappointed in the end.
You let me down, Wes.
If he's not banned from this podcast at this point, I need a break from him.
Well, we tried to ban Warner Brothers films and we failed at that too.
That's
on the last
impossible.
list. I mean, I hope we don't have more of them on this list. I don't know.
Well, if they're on this list, we're definitely swapping them out for something else.
Well, I guess it's a good thing we didn't share the whole thing.
Yeah. So we move on to a movie that you and I had never heard of, but we were doing a bunch of research as to what we could put on this list, and we landed on Alice, Sweet Alice from 1976.
It's more of a cult classic, i.e. that it did very poor back in the day, but it picked up over time and has become a horror movie fan favorite.
Yeah, like a classic horror film from the 70s, which we're discovering there are many.
I love 70s horror. Yeah. I'm just calling a spade a spade.
It's great. Some people, or I guess a lot of people, consider this a slasher. I mean, I guess it is.
So I think that it definitely has those makings, right? Because the killer is just somebody with a knife, right? I feel like we loosely use...
Knife and a mask and it's a slasher?
Yeah. This one, you can find it actually in studies about the genre of exploitation and how it came to be.
It did come up on the exploitation list too.
So it definitely can fall into either because it's more of a human thing.
Yeah. So it's written by Rosemary Ritvo and Alfred Soul. It's also directed by Alfred Soul. Sadly, he does not have an extensive career as a director. I thought he did a really good job with this movie. Outside of when we first turned it on, everything was sort of like overexposed and like washy looking.
Yeah.
Like the quality of the film.
It's definitely an old looking film.
Was sort of, it was poor. I realized, I learned after the fact that there's actually like a beautifully remastered version of this movie, like a preserved version from the original film where things aren't as quite overexposed and blown out and you get like more rich colors. They don't take you away from like the 70s film look of the movie, but they sort of color correct it better and just it's a lot more pleasing. It still has the
feel, but it looks more finished.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I would have known that existed before we watched this movie because it probably would have even upped the level of enjoyment for me, but, whatever.
I like the nostalgia.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
So this was initially called Communion, then it was changed to Holy Terror, and then Alice, Sweet Alice. This thing went through the ringer in terms of trying to market it and even position it. I happen to think that Communion is the scariest title for this movie.
Yes, I'm sure that there was probably some backlash thought about at the time, right? Again, with all the religious themes, it seems like the 70s just love throwing religion into horror movies. A lot of
Christianity in the 70s horror.
It's so interesting. It's like everyone kind of at the time was just like, no, this is terrifying and I'm going to make a story about it. So Communion, Holy Terror, I get it. Like those could be polarizing titles that maybe they felt were the reason it didn't do as well. And I mean, they both are way more.
Why they changed it.
Yeah, they were way more aptly titled, though. It definitely describes the film a little bit better than Alice, Sweet Alice, but I'm into the Alice, Sweet Alice name too.
So this is the debut of Brooke Shields. She plays the youngest daughter, Karen. She does a good job in this movie.
Yeah, it's actually funny, right? Because she has the smaller part and ends up to be the more well-known actress.
Becomes a huge actress. And the actress who plays Alice doesn't do anything after this.
I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that works out.
So Catherine, the mother, she's bringing her daughters, Karen and Alice, to Father Tom ahead of Karen's first communion. And Father Tom gives her like this precious family heirloom. It's this beautiful gold cross necklace. And in the other room, Alice is more concerned with scaring Mrs. Tredoni in the kitchen because Alice is a bit of a prankster. That's sort of what she does throughout this film. This is our first glimpse of Alice wearing her mask.
Yep.
And this scares the crap out of Mrs. Tredoni, who's washing the kitchen floor. What do you think of this killer get up and this look?
In this case, it's almost like Alice gets to play these two sides. And I think they touch upon it a little later with her kind of schizo diagnosis of like, well, when she puts on this mask, she's a different person than who she is without it.
Yeah, like it flips that switch, which, you know, at this point is sort of like, it's like a prankster-y kind of switch, like a mischievous part of her personality, because she does the thing where she scares her sister and she runs off and the sister has to chase after her. So pretty early on in the film, we get right to the communion, and Karen she's attacked with a church candle. She gets strangled to death basically with this candle.
I do have arguments with that a little bit of like, I don't know that a candle is strong enough to not snap in half.
Listen, these are church candles from the 70s, all right? They were thick and strong and powerful.
Are they like cement on the inside?
No, it's just you know what? The wax was different back then.
The wax. Everything was different in the 70s, everyone.
So this is an awesome scene. It's definitely cool when you see the feet dragging across the pews. Like you get that great shot when he's inside the pews, like going down the aisle. It's like a little dolly shot, and you just see the feet getting dragged and dragged and dragged. She eventually gets dragged into this other room where the killer, wearing the coat and the mask.
Your first glimpse at the killer, tying back.
This is the first like real murder. Yeah. She puts her in, what is it, like a?
It's a pew in the back that has it's like a bench converted to a pew kind of thing.
Yeah. And Wes Craven, take notes here, because young Brooke Shields, who's never acted in a film before, plays dead absolutely perfectly. She's like, when they lift her up, she seems completely...
And eyes open. It's an eyes open death.
She's completely limp. She does an eyes open death where like they show the shot of her inside the pew before, Yeah.
Doesn't breathe, not even a nostril moves.
Nothing. So, I mean, that fucking bullshit scene you called the death scene in Last House on the Left. Like, come on, man.
That dad is the worst doctor of all time.
All right, well, I'm done with Wes Craven for this. So this is cool because she puts her in there and then she lights a candle, throws it in there.
So you think it's over of like, oh, I killed her, I'm just going to hide her in this pew. Nope.
Savage.
Next level.
Savage. Like, I'm going to light her on fire in this box. And mind you,
the church is full.
And in the next room over, it's a full church for communion for like the whole town. Like there's people everywhere. Obviously, Karen doesn't make her communion. Alice goes up there to try to receive communion.
Yep.
And the aunt, fucking Aunt Annie, bitch.
Fucking Aunt Annie.
She's like, she's got no business up there. You got to go grab her. And this is sort of our first little nugget or clue that like there's something about Alice's family history that's not quite kosher.
This is a little ambiguous in the film, I think, because they never really say why she shouldn't. She's technically older than Karen, so we assume that it's because she is ineligible to do communion because she's a child out of wedlock.
Right.
That's the assumption.
Well, that is what it ends up being.
Yes, but I don't know, is that a real thing? Like, did that really happen?
Yes. So, yeah, I love this scene. The whole Karen being murdered scene is awesome. Let's talk about the landlord, Alfonso, though. This is quite an interesting character. Real big fat guy, right? I think he wears the same clothes throughout the whole movie.
I mean, based on the stain on his frass.
Yeah, you kept calling it a shit stain, but it's on the front of his pants.
I'm just saying maybe he's shitting himself and it's coming up from the back. Oh. It's worse. Listen, he just lays in bed or he sits on the couch. If he shits himself...
You're
Think
right.
about a kid in a diaper that will come up the front or the back. Depends how you're laying.
Well, not to mention this guy eats fucking cat food, so he's probably just like
got liquid
sharding.
shit.
Yeah, he's just sharding his life
Oh my
away
God.
all
Why
day.
are we talking about this? It's
Well,
so disgusting.
I'm trying to explain your shit stain.
I know, but now we went way deeper than when I talked about it. It's way worse.
Yeah, so Alfonso, he's got like tons of cats. He's got shit stained pants. He wears like the same clothes the whole movie. He's got the bad teeth. He's eating
no
cat
eyebrows.
food.
You forgot the no eyebrows.
Oh yeah. And the opera music, such a cool little character thing that Mr. Alfred Soul gives him is this opera music that he listens to on a vinyl record player
the time.
But I love, I'm gonna bring up Wes Craven again. This is how you use music in a horror film. Like, this works. The blending of the visual of this guy eating the cat food
chaos,
and then this beautiful opera music that he listens to. Like, he has like the most pristine taste in music, but he looks like this fat fucking slob who just shits his pants all day
and eats cat food and lets his cats roam free all over the house.
Yeah, but see that little contrast that immediately sells me on this character.
Yeah.
Like, I'm immediately interested in him as a character.
You're like, why is he here? What is he doing? What is his purpose?
Yeah. So after Karen's funeral, the detectives start getting involved. There's a lot of suspicion that starts swirling around Alice. We meet Dom, the father, for the first time. Here's the next clue, right? Is obviously the father doesn't live with them, right? So, and you're sort of meant to believe that they really haven't seen their father in a long time. And the only reason that he's here is because his daughter just was killed during her communion. So again, this sort of begs the question of like, what kind of home does Alice really grow up in? And like, you sort of start to peel back the curtain of some of her backstory and piece together some of those clues.
It's a broken home scenario with a kid acting out as a result.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so we get another scene. It's another scene like really hammering the nail of Aunt Annie and Alice really just not getting along, and there being a lot of friction there. And Alice drops the milk.
It's back in the day, babe. They dropped the milk on your porch in
a glass like
it was like the milkman.
Wow. Yeah, so she drops the whole thing, and Annie flips out on her. What I love about this exchange is Alice she's afraid that her aunt's going to hit her. Like, don't hit me, like, blah, blah, blah. And the aunt's like appalled at this. She's like, what are you talking about? Like, I would never hit you. When have I ever hit you? And then she follows it up with, what you need is a good smack.
She says, I wasn't going to, but you do need it. Like that annoying, like, a few good smacks would do you good kind of thing. And it's like, whoa,
I just love that. She's like, I'm not going to hit you. When have I ever hit you? What you need is a smack.
Yeah, it's like, girl, you don't even know what you're trying to say.
But you know what? It kind of makes sense. This is something I could hear my mother saying to me if I got out of line. Like, I could hear this coming out of her mouth.
Yeah.
So after this little character moment, we get Aunt Annie is leaving, and she gets attacked in the stairway by our killer with the mask, who at this point, like, we're really starting to just think it's Alice because
she's down in the basement with the mask.
Yeah, she has the mask. She has the whole outfit. The aunt gets attacked. She gets stabbed like multiple times in the thigh and like slashed up.
It's actually pretty good.
It's really good. It's cool too how like she ends up like crawling outside like down these stairs and it's like pouring rain. It's a really cool scene.
Yeah, and they have like those really cool shots of like the arm raising with the knife, right? Like those. I always love those, even if they're like
classic.
Yeah, like they just always are like a moment for you. And like these ones I thought were really interesting. They also have the misses, right? Because there's some parts. Yeah. So I really like that scene a lot. And again, it goes back to this idea of like, there are some really scary scenes in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I find this killer scary, so.
And especially while you're thinking that it's a kid.
Following this attack, the aunt like really starts harping hard on the fact that it was Alice who attacked me. I swear it was Alice. This spirals into Alice has to do all these tests. Like she has to take a lie detector test.
Well, because she says, it was Karen. I saw her. It was Karen.
She's claiming it's her dead sister.
That it wasn't her and da-da-da-da-da.
So again, another layer to this where it's like you start to really, buy into, okay, Alice has lost her mind. She has some sort of mental disorder that she's struggling with, where, is
now
it schizophrenia? Is it,
yeah.
How creepy is this doll? You remember Karen's doll?
Oh my God, stop. If someone gave me this flippin' doll, I would have probably thrown it at them. Like the fact that even this sweet little girl, Karen, who's like, it's my doll, and she's this dainty little girl, wants this 3-headed monstrosity of a doll.
What kind of fucking dolls they have in the 70s?
Yo, it was like, we're too poor to have 3 dolls, so we're just going to give you 3 faces in one.
Jesus.
Laughing, crying, sleeping. Here you go, kid. Enjoy it. No.
I feel like this is like a lost art in today's world of like the creepy kid toy. Like even think about
Jack in the Box.
The Poltergeist, right?
Clowns.
With the clown thing, like the creepy shit that we used to give kids as toys.
So terrible. It was always clowns too, though. Like, I don't know what it was about any adult growing up in those times.
Porcelain dolls are creepy.
I used to have so many of those. Oh my God. Yeah. What was wrong with me? Like, I was just putting myself in a living nightmare in my own bedroom. Like, what? Why would I do that to myself? But I did.
All right, so they're becoming more and more determined, obviously, because now it's not just their daughter that got killed. It's now, her sister just got attacked. Dom is really determined, and he, for some reason, does this thing where because the aunt is blaming the murders on his daughter Alice,
he wants to
he's
believe
like,
it's
you know
her
what?
daughter.
I think it's your daughter instead, and then blames Angela.
But the mother is like, it doesn't make sense. Alice's jacket would be this tiny,
right.
and Angela would be like a 14.
Right.
And it's like,
and it never made sense. In the context of this was the thing that was probably the weirdest for me in this movie was like why the dad was so down this rabbit hole about his niece being the one.
I guess it was just like, you're not going to accuse my kid, and like Aunt Annie was so adamant, like it's Alice. And he's like, okay, well, maybe it's Angela. Where was Angela? Like, I think it's one of those. It's not rational. It's not meant to be. It's just like, whatever it is, whoever it is, I know it's not my kid is where he was at.
Yeah.
But I agree. It's also left field. You barely see Angela in this movie.
Yeah. Well, he gets the phone call from who he thinks is Angela. The person on the other line claims to be Angela.
Ridiculous. This is one of the things that I hate.
And basically, like, this person is confessing that you're right. It was me. Like, I'm scared. Like, come get me.
I have the cross, which is something that the father is looking for. She's been looking vehemently.
He follows, or he meets up with the Angela, who he thinks is Angela. He just ends up seeing the killer in the with the mask and the raincoat.
Yep.
Follows her into an abandoned building, which is a cool little set piece, I think.
It's definitely a cool set piece, but it's also like, why is this? Your first instinct was, why is this little kid there? But it's like, all right, she's hiding out. Fine. It makes sense. Great. Do it.
Yeah. So he ends up getting attacked pretty quickly. He gets stabbed right in the collarbone. He still this whole time thinks it's his.
Not just stabbed in the collarbone.
Well, no, I'm saying.
Okay.
So he's still at this point, like he kind of gets away, but he's not really willing to fight back. He still feels like it's his niece, and he can reason with her. Yes. He keeps saying, "Angela, I'm not going to hurt you," and then he gets a fucking brick to the face, like, "Thank you very much." Then he gets an uppercut brick to the chin, like. It's
savage.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And at this point, he gets tied up. He's like just about like he's on the brink of death anyway. Like he's been stabbed.
But he is holding on.
He's been smashed in the face a few times, but he is holding on. And the killer starts rolling him towards this open window.
And it's like, this is your first take. Like, no shot. This, if you didn't hear it in the voice on the phone, you definitely are sitting here now going, that is not a kid running around this warehouse or pushing this grown-ass man.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think they're aware of that because immediately you get the reveal of who it is behind this mask in this moment. It's Mrs. Tredoni.
This bitch.
Yeah. So she is the caretaker or she basically runs the household for the 2 priests at the local church, the St. Michael's Church. And we don't really get too much about her character, just like little nuggets here and there up until this point. So when it's revealed that it's her, you're like, oh my God, like, really? How is this going to tie in?
Rolling in the shadows, this one.
Mm-hmm. And Jesus, like the way that she finishes him off, like smashing the cross into his mouth.
Well, it was supposed to, he bit it off of her.
Yeah.
Because she had the cross, and what she was trying to do was get him to not be biting down on it so she could get it out. She
Yeah.
kept saying, it's mine, that's mine. And she gives up because he's not letting go. And she's just like, fuck it. I'm
Yeah.
just going to throw you off of here.
Yeah, she's smashing him with her shoe, like right in the teeth. Like it looks great. And she's berating him with all this like religious Christianity, like
sinner, you have to pay.
Evil Satan stuff. Pushes him off and he's a goner. And I'm just like, whoa. And this is like about an hour into the movie. So I love that he chooses to reveal the killer here.
Yes.
Because now it gives you some time as a viewer to actually like take in this information and get some explanation as to, okay, we know who it is, but now why?
What's happening?
How does this tie into everything I've seen so far?
And why? Yeah. Why? Why is this woman so adamantly trying to destroy this entire family?
Yes.
You get this idea that she's on this plight because it's the holy thing to do, right? To cleanse the world of evil.
This is one of my favorite scenes in the movie too. The head-to-head between Mrs. Tredoni and Catherine.
Catherine feels something is off.
Yeah, I mean,
she doesn't know what it is.
It's super suspenseful and tense, right?
Yeah, it's like, you know what's going on. They jump back and forth between Catherine sitting in the living room, Miss Tredoni in the kitchen, not knowing what to do, right? And then you see her grab this knife and then come back out and you're like, oh, Catherine's dead. That's it. This is over. And then she's like, I made coffee. And you're like, what?
Yeah. And I love this scene because it really, really cements and establishes Mrs. Tredoni as a truly scary character.
Mm-hmm.
That
cold,
camera,
the
short. Camera angle you get is sort of like looking up at her and she's chopping up this fish. Like she has this weapon in her hand. She's sort of centered in the frame. And whenever she speaks, she's sort of like really condescendingly directing her words at Catherine. It's like, everything she's saying is like an attack on her, but in a really subtle way. A
verbal attack.
Yeah, but in like a really subtle way.
This is where it all comes together. I think that Alice is the child out of wedlock. I think Karen is the child that happened after they were married. So it's more like, again, that Catherine was pregnant with Alice before she got married and had Karen after, and Karen has to pay for the sins of her parents, and that is why she died that day. So
I heard I read actually a really great theory online today about what this whole dynamic might be. What if, she got pregnant with Alice with Dom, right? They married or whatever out of necessity because it's like, well, we didn't expect the times. So they didn't really ever have that true love connection. It was really more of just like an oops.
We have to do this.
And then they tried to make it work. It didn't work. They weren't a match in that regard. Right. Then Catherine has sex with Father Tom.
I think that this is implied.
Karen is
Father
Tom's daughter, which would explain why in the beginning he gives this precious Fairly heirloom cross to Karen.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, you don't have to do that. And he's like, well, who else would I give it to? It's his daughter. Right. So this is really, I think, the main motivator for Mrs. Tredoni, because I feel she calls Catherine a whore.
This blows my mind now because I get it.
This family is an abomination to her.
Yes.
I mean, if you really think about it.
And her beloved priest, Father Tom, now.
Right.
That does make sense a little bit more. It pulls it all together as to why Alice can't do communion, back to that whole thing, right? And then obviously that Alice was killed before she could do her communion for the same reason.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it all ties together really well. I love that theory. So they're at the church where the detectives and Father Tom are basically agreeing like, okay, when Mrs. Tredoni comes up to take communion, I'll stop her and I'll escort her to the back and you guys can grab her. She's not going to do anything to me.
Yeah. She's not going to attack me.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most calculated things about what she does is that she does purposely disguise herself as Alice or as a child, right? Because you get those scenes of her undressing the little girl shoes, the little girl tights, and taking off the jacket, and that's her little shopping bag that she puts everything in, and she hides it with the knife, and it's so fucking creepy and weird that like she in her mind was like, I will just imitate a child and no one will ever suspect me. And that's probably the craziest part of the motive is like, how can I do this without getting seen? Oh, I'll be a kid.
I mean, she's thought a lot of it through,
crazy.
Which I like. You know, I love how all these beats like interconnect and they just all work.
Yep.
So obviously she does attack Father Tom. She calls Catherine a whore from the back of the church.
You gave her, and she's a whore. It's like, whoa, okay, this is a lot.
And she stabs him in the freaking neck.
Oh,
right in front of everybody.
Just for the nostalgia today. If you're not watching us on YouTube.
What a brutal scene.
I tried to really tie in the Sweet Alice vibes
I
today.
know, you nailed it.
I
you
did.
Definitely nailed it.
I like this set. You'll probably see it a few times if I don't break it.
But yeah, this is a brutal scene. I love when like Father Tom sort of like he kind of like goes limp and he falls into her and she's like hugging him like all creepily.
Right, it's like
and you see like the blood from his neck like dripping on her yellow coat.
It's so creepy because it's like it's almost like she finally gets the loving embrace and it's in the most twisted way.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's what she's been longing for. You see it in her face and like regardless of what happens, like that moment is all that matters in everything that she's done.
And if you think back to the theory that we just discussed, it could be that Father Tom was always on her hit list, right? Because he was a priest and he slept with Catherine and
it was just a matter of time.
Yeah. So he was part of this whole thing where she was planning on getting rid of him anyway. Awesome movie. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
I really love that movie too. I think it was like so good and I was so invested in it from the beginning, and then when it had the spin at the end, because obviously they market the description as girl kills her sister, and you're like, oh, okay, we just assume from the gate that Alice is evil, but really she's a mischievous little shitty kid.
She's a prankster. All right, well that'll do it for episode 6. I guess what we'll try to do is I'd like to try to run through a little bit more of these. Oh, excuse me, for next time. Just because with the holiday coming up, I just got to accelerate it through, if we can, because I don't know what our situation is going to be there. But yeah, so we'll look forward to that next time. Maybe we'll have 4 movies to talk about or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always fun if we can get more films in, and hopefully none of them are Wes Craven.
No, none of them will be Wes Craven. At least not on this list.
Not on this until we meet again, Wes. Hopefully not
guys.
soon.
Well, enjoy your weekend. Don't forget to like and subscribe, rate and review, especially if you want to be entered in that contest.
I was going to say, and don't forget to comment. You like what we're talking about? You disagree? You have a better opinion? You have a better thought? We want to hear it.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching and listening.
See you next time.